Hi, thanks for joining me today. And let me show you something that I would uh I would say is probably not your standard form of investing, but I'm not your standard investor. Okay? And I don't believe that the average person can exert any control over the stock market, but I believe that they have the ultimate influence on their portfolio's returns. And obviously, had I made better returns in a taxable account, I wouldn't have a terrible mic. But I think that I can demonstrate in a tax deferred account for a while that having the correct influence over your portfolio can make a large difference in your returns. Uh, wow. Well, who's going to watch it anyway? It's a personal diary. I don't believe that using leverage with investments is good or bad. I think it's just a choice. If you buy something, anything, that object has a one-to-one correlation with your net worth. If you buy it in full, that is. If you don't use any form of credit with the promise of spending future income on it, you can you can pretty much say that an asset or an object or that thing has a one-to-one correlation with its value and its portion of your net worth, you know? But if you use leverage, from the moment that you purchase whatever you wanted to purchase, it has a disproportionate effect on your net worth relative to what you paid for it. And it will likely have a much different value from the moment that you purchase it until you either fully attain ownership or it is called from you for lack of credit payment or something similar, right? I think more than people realize, they are levered. Um, there's two examples on your screen, but if you think patiently about yourself, anything that you have purchased on credit is you levering what you had at the time versus what you wanted, right? So it's not a good thing or a bad thing to use leverage. It's just important to understand, you know, that if you are not paying for something in full with cash, anything, you are levered from that moment forward. And I do not believe most people realize how levered they really are. That's fine. You know, we're all paying the bills. The bills are still getting paid. The credit score is good. We're fine. You know, but you know, to take a moment of inventory, I I purchased a car and I put up a 75% down payment, and I was then levered from there on out until I just couldn't stand having the thought of a car payment anymore, and then I paid the rest off. But I was levered for a short amount of time. you know? And I think a lot of people do that. I think that it is possible to dramatically outperform the market with a responsible use of leverage. It has to be thoughtful, it has to be careful, it has to be sincere. You have to really, really be careful going in, but I do believe that if done responsibly, the average person can run circles around hedge funds or asset managers or any person of the like. I think that it is realistic that with a responsible use of leverage, any person in America with the blessings that I have, which is gainful employment, a healthy body, and maybe this makes me unique, but considering what I've seen on the internet, a healthy appetite for risk and volatility, that anyone can make face melting returns if done correctly. So the argument is, what is a responsible use of leverage, right? I can hear many people asking. So a responsible use of leverage is attaining control of an asset that will likely produce value for you in the future, right? Many people love financing their car, and they could not make it to their job in America unless they had that car. That is it. That so many people would advocate for that use of leverage. You're not building equity, right? But many people do like to buy a house and build equity in that way. I think that if you responsibly lever, that you can get, to use, a fancy language, you can generate alpha. And and when I say this, right, I know that I am in the dramatic minority. I might be one of 3 people who is telling you that you can responsibly use leverage, because I have not seen, I mean 1 of 3 people in America, because I have not seen any form of media or writing, and those are the same thing, but we people do attribute more weight to writing because it is a logical process where you have to take your ideas and put them on paper, and it often becomes more thought out when you literally write words, whether using a keyboard or a pen. So I have not seen any media or writing that attempts to use leverage in the way that I am going to very quickly and very lightly for myself lay out in this video for me to follow in the future. But I do think that it is possible with an example. Everyone wants an example. So if you buy the right option, it's not really that much leverage. I know that I put only in quotes for a very good reason, because for a lot of people, the notional value of an options contract say, paying $3,000-ish to gain control of $6,000-ish, the effect that it would have if the market were to slide 10 to 15%, the effect that it would have on the $3,000 that most people say that they're a long-term investor with, would just kill them. It would kill them. It would kill them. It would kill them. But there are people proudly posting YouTube videos and TikToks every day where they purchase much, 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 much more leverage than this and are proud of it. And I don't appreciate that at all. But, with a $63 share price, let's call it $64 share price up there, if the market slides 10%, the stock drops by roughly $7. With a delta of 100, you're going to see that call option drop pretty dramatically. It would be jarring for so many people to lose that much money in a day. Fortunately, the money that I'm going to be using to run this experiment, I don't need. I invested well for myself young and early, and I am very grateful and fortunate to be in a position where I could run an experiment like this and come back to this and see myself in the future. I hope me and basically the 3 other people that ever watched this video come back and go, wow, I can't believe that he took a massive risk and it paid disproportionately. So that is 2 times leverage, right? The big plan is to initially underperform the market, right? And that definitely goes against everything I just said that was possible. I am going to do something that a lot of people wouldn't, in that I'm going to take my money and I'm going to sell options initially to garner premium in a meaningful way. And I am going to attempt to use that to build a flywheel where I can control how levered I am relative to the market and relative to my underlyings. And I am going to ensure that it is public for myself and that I am held accountable for my actions that I choose. Because I think it's possible. I keep saying it's possible for people to do, but I do not believe that most people will have the stomach to witness what I'm about to do with their own money, because many people are not as fortunate and blessed as I am to have this be a reasonable risk for them to take. Most people, if I haven't told anyone because I know what I would hear, don't do that. That you shouldn't take this sort of risk. And yeah, so I will continue that. I know that a lot of when I talk to people who have been in investing, and I say that as just like bar top conversations. I meet someone, oh, you've been following NVIDIA, like, how are you doing? They're usually down. They usually don't beat the market. They usually cannot produce the similar or better returns. And I don't think I'm any better at picking individual securities at the moment, but I will go ahead and damn well try. So I'll lever the market. If I can't beat the market, and the market generally goes up, fuck it. I'll lever the market. And my biggest risk coming into this is a sequence of returns risk, where the moment that I publish this and begin this journey for the next 10 years, there is a massive market correction, which is slang for the economy takes a shit and GDP falls and the stock market falls and everyone's scared. But, you know, outside of a sequence of return risk, if I lever the market, more or less, if it returns positively, I will have a greater positive return. It's going to start with a small ETF. And I say small, I do not mean assets under management. I mean literally the price to buy in. And I'll start with around 10K, give or take a little. And I'm going to be selling options initially to buy shares to increase the portfolio's overall delta. And something that I believe is misunderstood about selling an option, especially on an index, is that the maximum amount of leverage that you can have is 1x. Since when you sell an option, if it's covered, I will give that, as long as it's covered. A cash secured put, where you put up all of the cash up front, or a covered call where you own all of the shares, the maximum leverage that it can reach is 1. This might be shocking for many to hear, but the other person that you're selling that option to is paying that premium to buy leverage from you. That's the whole point. So they can make a bigger return, potentially, than you did. But outside of that, I definitely expect to underperform for the first 1 to 3 years. And that is me signing up to essentially be losing money until, and by losing, I mean in terms of opportunity cost. I will definitely probably be losing money until June 2027. That's batshit insane. Why would anyone do that? Who knows? The calls you buy could decrease in value before expiry. I know that a lot of people are going to argue that when I'm building this flywheel, that I shouldn't be doing it because the things that I'm purchasing could decrease in value. I'm going to sit around and essentially say this, right? I'm going to act as my own bank, more or less. I'm going to take and hold 45% extra value relative to the strike price of the options that I buy. Now, why would I do that? Because if the market suddenly or slowly decreases by 30%, I could make the judgment call that the extrinsic value of my option is no longer my main priority, and I could delever and assume total control of 100 shares. This would decrease my overall delta in my portfolio, but it will only decrease it by the number of shares that I have that I am holding to be a liquid asset as a backstop for the calls. It will make recovery harder, but I am willing to make that happen. And if I see fit, I might even liquidate only a portion of the underlying that I'm holding and buy a call that is out of the money. I would take a risk because I do have faith that the S&P 500 will continue to grow. And so if I have the ability, I will take a measured risk at the time that I see fit. Considering that I plan to have this go on for 10 years, this is an eventuality. This slide right here is for me to come back to and listen to myself and say, hey, what did I think then? I think that the smart decision is to delever mostly, but not entirely. And I think the smart decision is to delever specifically on individual stocks, a security that has claim to a company's future cash flows. I think that when I delever in the future, I'm not saying if, because I will need to delever in the future, I should begin by delevering individual securities and taking direct control of the cash flows of the stock. Stocks are not just prices on a screen. Stock prices do wander. You do not have any control over a stock's price. But you can influence how that stock's price and its movements affect your portfolio. So I believe that doing this, delevering individual securities when it's appropriate, and beginning with things that give me claims to a company's future cash flows and profits is a great place to start when I do need to delever. If the market sells off too quickly for me to do any of that, take a loss. But I will hopefully be buying my calls so deep in the money that they'll have some value, and I can sell them back to the market, around expiry date. Hopefully they will be mostly intrinsic value. And I believe that's all I have to say to myself. That's wonderful. That's good. I like that. Heck yeah.